Many academics often feel overwhelmed and yet not productive in their scholarly pursuits because they have so many different activities that are purely time wasters instead of growing their body of research. Hi, this is Dr. Jia. Today I'm going to talk about 6 time wasters in academia. Number 1, inefficient meetings or too many meetings. Okay, I think this is a big problem everywhere. The first thing is inefficient meetings. The meetings are often disrupted, leading to inefficient meetings. Such a huge time waster. In this 2018 Workplace Distraction Report by Udemy Business, these are the major meeting disruptors. 54%, small talk and office gossip. 45% site discussion about other projects, 37% late arrivals or early departures, 33% technological or connectivity problems. So I'm sure you've experienced all of these before. Now, some people would say small talks can build connection. Yes, you can certainly do that, but please do it outside of the meeting time. If you are the leader of meetings, start creating a culture where meetings start on time and not go beyond meeting time. You train how people behave around you. So if you're always saying, okay, let's wait for the 5-minute stragglers to come in, you're not respecting those who were there on time. Set a clear agenda before the meeting. You know who the talkers and derailers are, and once they're derailing the conversation, pull them in and remind them of the agenda. Technological and connectivity problems. For those who have to present or give virtual conferences, come set things up earlier. Get your slides up. Don't wait for people to twiddle their thumbs and watching you struggle through the technical problems. Now, the second point, too many meetings. Just because you're invited to a meeting does not mean that you are required to attend. So look at the topic or agenda. Another point, remove recurring meetings that do not have agendas. Oftentimes there are meetings that they had a clear purpose at the beginning, but no longer serve the purpose. For example, weekly research meeting for Project X to do data analysis. Then, as time goes, data analysis winds down and this meeting loses its relevance. And so if there's no reason, stop the meeting. Third point, handling post-meeting tasks. So there are different types of meetings. Some meetings are purely informational, but in many situations, you meet with the group to discuss and decide on the next step. The problem I used to face was that I would write down the task somewhere and plan to do it sometime next week. Then I would forget the important points, lose momentum, and then spend time tracing back the email thread, looking up the meeting notes. What a time waster. Now, whenever I have meetings that require action steps, I will schedule a work session right after the meeting to complete meeting action items. For example, when I meet with a research group to discuss manuscript writing, I will schedule a 60-minute work session right after that meeting. Or when it's a committee meeting where I only need to do maybe 10 minutes of task, then I will schedule a 10-minute work session. So as soon as the meeting ends, I will work on the paper as decided during the meeting or work on the task as decided. That way, everything's still fresh in my mind and I can keep the momentum going. The post-meeting session can be 10, 20 minutes, depending on the amount of time the task typically needs. Now, let's get to the second time waster, loss of momentum. When I first got started in research, this was the biggest problem. I would start a project, get great momentum, and then something gets in the way. And then the next thing I know, a few months have gone by. And when I get back to it, I would have forgotten where I've left off. Now I have to jumpstart the whole thing again. I would have to take time to understand the data, rebuild my motivation to write, rebuild the habit, etc. This is my new strategy. I work on my project in sprints. It could be a 1-week sprint or 2-week sprints. And before I start the sprint, I will list out all of tasks, every single thing that I needed to do. For example, find 8 articles that support or disprove this argument point, 60 minutes. Create a draft outline of the discussion points, 1.5 hours. Write paragraph 1 of the discussion section, 45 minutes. So you get my point. Then schedule them into the calendar. So no longer as a vague writing block time, but the actual name of the task. I also know myself enough that I typically lose momentum after 2 to 3 days, so I'll make sure that when I'm scheduling these tasks, I would not have more than 3 days between those tasks. And also, because things have been scheduled in advance, I already know what the next steps are. And so when I get there, I don't have to think about what I need to do during that work session. Third time waster, not completing the cycle. What this means is not completing the task all the way through. So let me give you some examples. Opening up emails, but you can't work on the email task until much later. Having multiple research papers that need to be written up. or having multiple open projects that have been delayed. The problem with these open loops or cycles is that they take up a lot of mental space and energy, and the unresolved tasks will weigh on me, and I end up being very indecisive. When I start working on one thing, then I'll start thinking about something, I should be doing the other thing. So this frequent back and forth wastes so much time and causes stress. I'm trying to get better myself at this, but these are some strategies that have helped. If you have too many open cycles and feel overwhelmed, start by closing the easiest cycles. Do not start a new task unless you are ready to complete it. For example, don't open your email unless you have time to work on email tasks. I don't want to open my email right before I go see a patient in the clinic because I can't call the other patient back anytime anyway. So now it's creating this thing at the back of my mind when I'm seeing my patient. So don't start things that you can't complete. And now I have 2 email blocks in the day where I dedicate 30-minute session to respond to emails and to complete email tasks. For example, calling patient back or setting medication refill. You can have 3, 4, but as long as you create a specific block, it just makes it much smoother. Also, make decisions fast. Don't overthink. Once you have made that decision, once you have opened the cycle, make a decision. Don't look back until you have completed the cycle. For example, if you have to do a major revision of paper, quickly meet with your co-author to decide what you're willing to address. Then complete all the revisions and submit it before touching a new project. I know conducting a research project is an overwhelming process, so I made the idea to paper blueprint for you. This blueprint takes you through a 7-step process from idea generation to paper submission. So be sure to get a copy by clicking the link at the description below. Time waster number 4, worrying about the competition. So academics are always worried about people scooping their projects. So if they aren't thinking in a scarcity mindset. Instead, think about collaboration and not competition. Now, if you have a patent or some sort of scientific breakthrough, then you want to dominate, not compete. And the way to dominate and win is to be the first to complete the whole thing. It does not matter if other people stole your idea or not. The money is in the execution. If you look at all the groundbreaking studies, the first one that gets published will get the most attention and the most citation. Time waster number 5, let social media use you. I'm a proponent of using social media to bring value to others and to promote your work. Now the question is, are you using social media or are you letting social media use you? How do you distinguish the two? If you're scrolling mindlessly on TikTok, Instagram, or getting swept out on Twitter drama, then you are letting social media use you. Also, a more insidious one is constantly scrolling on Twitter to bookmark threads about academics tips, but not really using them. These are not good use of your time. How do you use social media without getting sucked in? It's all about intentionality. So let me give a few tips here. First, when you go on a platform, you need to go with a specific purpose. For example, I go on YouTube to learn how people format their videos, how to make better content. Second, I also create content outside of the app or social media platform. For example, I plan my YouTube topics, Twitter threads on Google Docs, and then I schedule them out on social media schedulers. A lot of them are free. And that way I am putting out content without being swept up by other people's content. Time waster number 6, spending too much time looking for productivity tools. If you go to academic Twitter, the tweets that get the most attention are those that are related to software and productivity systems. Then people spend too much time deciding which one is the best to use. This note-taking app versus that note-taking app, Notion versus Trello versus Asana, which literature review software, which referencing managing software. Don't spend too much time trying to figure out the best one. Choose one and move on. Tech is only a tool. What you need to do is sit down and do the work. The thing is, even after learning all of these time wasters, you still have to sit down to complete your paper fast. And believe it or not, I have a video to show you how I complete my research paper in half the time using one trick.